Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're gonna check the Puffu, or new familiar on global. On this video I explain his skills, if people are still using him, and what's his position in Pve Tier List, if people are using him on a familiar arena. Also I found some people, they did some tests using him, combination of things also, so I think it's very nice to show you guys. And also I found a build, a very high level guy using him in a water build, water and frozen build. So I think it's very interesting to show you guys. So first of everything, I will show you guys a video showcasing him. So this video is from the official Korean YouTube channel. So they show us some examples of how to use him. So I think it might be very useful for us to check. That's our friend Puffu. To explain his abilities, his passives. Later we go deep. Some team composition ideas. You see that how then they are attack type. And also familiars that gives frozen. In the familiar adventure arena. Some team combinations. They always put him behind because he attacks from distance. So that's one thing to point out. Okay, that's our friend Puffu. So first of everything, let's check his skills. So he's Puffu. Fortunately, we don't have his skills translated. So he's a very particular familiar because he enters the team the same as Kona, Angelux, and Helix, and the Cactus also. So he enters the same as them because, for example, you see increase damage by 1% for each attack familiar equipped. This is Angelux, and the same apply for Helix also. So these familiars have a synergy together. Kona the same. Here, you see, and the same applies for Cactus, this one, and the Puffu. So you guys got something particular here. Each of them have a different element: dark, light, earth, water, and fire one. So that's one thing to point out. So this, what might be that they will be the only familiars that have this passive for now in each of element. And the one thing that's good, that you can combine them, even if they are different elements. They can have a in certain degree synergy. But for Puffu, I feel like he synergizes better with other water familiars, and later I explain you guys why. So we explain his passives is the same as Kona, for example. And here's his active skill. What does his active skill? He deals 28% of attack per hit within the range, and increase the damage by 50% to frost enemies, and he reduces movement speed by 30% by 3 seconds. That's a lot. Reduce movement speed on PvP, oh my god. And increase the damage by 1000% in Witch Kitchen's dungeon. So that's the episode we are having now, the cooking competition. So this is frost. So if you have all the frost familiars, it's very useful for you. Let's see his skill on the familiar arena and the familiar forest. So this is very similar to Kona in some degree. So for every 30 normal attacks, he deals a damage equal of 16% of attack per hit to enemies within his range. And he's a ranged familiar, so that's why some people put him behind to making him last longer time. So here he's another, it's kind of passive attack. So when you take damage or receive a foul attack, the nearby enemies receive 8% of the damage per hit and frostbite effect for 5 seconds. Here frostbite 5 seconds, and he increased the damage against frost enemies in 100%. That's very nice. So if you have another familiars that inflicts frozen, it's very good. So that's how he works. He's that website I check sometimes. In Japanese they call him Sabun, but on global you'll be Puffu. So it's like I just read. So he does more damage against frozen enemies. One thing to point out, he just appeared once and was doing this cooking episode. But you have to think also that this event was March, April of this year. So it's too early to him appear again to have a rerun. So like this cooking competition event. So it's the same as I was playing. Boosts the damage against frozen enemies, reduce enemy movement speed by a small amount, boosts damage by a small percentage for each attack type familiar in your party, like Kona, Angelux, Helix, and Cactus. These familiars do the same passive. So like I explained, for every 3 normal attacks, he does a small hit of water damage to nearby enemies. And when you receive damage or getting fall, does a small hit of water to nearby enemies and inflicts frozen. And he also boosts damage, is like we read, 100% to frozen enemies. So let's see his uses, what they suggest and what he do. So best in attack focus team with other familiars who can inflict frozen. So I think he fits very well in the water attack team. So that's the best combination. So they compare with Kaitona. Actually Kaitona is this one. Is another familiar will appear in December. He also inflicts frozen. Actually many times they use Puffu and actually in Japanese they call Kaitona, but they already translate. His name will be Sage Raindeer. So he's not translated yet his skills. But let's call him Sage. So Sage is very good support familiar for water attackers. So that's why they use a lot. Because he boosts critical hit rate by a small percentage for every attack type familiar in your party. This is very good. It's one of the few familiars that boosts your critical hit rate. And this is very good to increase your damage actually. So actually people using Sage with Puffu a lot. If you see almost how builds they use both of them together. Here say compare with those, compare with both of them. Because they have buffs against frozen enemies. And the similar use, PvE, PvP. So you need to have attack, water build, I think is the best to work together. So doing the arena, he don't have anything special. But does amounts of extra water damage when attacking or getting attacked. Which can help because this getting fall is not very common. Of course receiving damage can happen. But fall is very situational. So that's what your friend can do. So I was checking and I found some Pve Tier List. This was made in April, just after the launching. So you guys can check. I put the link of everything so you guys can have an idea. Of course it's a little different because some familiars we don't have yet. But you guys can have a reference at least. This for PvE. So here they don't consider the familiar arena, for example. Just content to grind, for example. And do the boss, for example, not PvP. So they put S, Kona, and this Fire Links. Of course, Mountain Lion will be S, for example, on the PvP, for example. Even Familiar Arena also. So they divide by attribute. So water type, that's our focus here. This one was supposed to come now actually, Squeeby. And Sage is what I just showed you guys, it appear in December. So actually, Puffu and the Hippocampus are in the top. So here they explain a little bit why. So they're saying here that Hippocampus gets a better position now, because he now can have a good partner with Puffu. And the same with Sage, the Kaurogi. So these three, they can make a very good party in a PvE context, because this one gives Frostbite and increase the damage also, and Hippocampus increase the damage of the water type familiar. So these three together are very good team. I would say that a good combination on global would be with Sirio, for example. Sirio, Hippocampus and Puffu. I think it would be a nice combination. So just for reference, I think you guys can take, you have to consider this is for PvE. So for example, we don't need a lot of healing, right? So that's why Toko is here, but if you put the Familiar Arena, he will be a better position. So Petal, she increase your attack speed. She's not available yet, so just you guys have an idea, that's why she's here. Here, Angelux, they put here Angelux, I think more because of passive, that's similar to Puffu also. And the other support types is for PvE, they are, according to this tier list, not very good. But in other contexts, of course. And in Helix, for example. So that's how it works in PvE, this tier list. So this is another review about the Puffu. They say that he's not a water Kona, but I would say that's very similar in some degree. They say that he's a similar effect as a Kona. So they say they have a nickname like water Kona. So during that time they didn't have a Cactus. That's the Pve familiar that have this same passive as Kona. So they say that is a good counter to Kona on the familiar arena. But just after that, during the fishing event, they launch a Cactus. That's a kind of counter for Puffu, because it's the earth type. So here we can see they compare 4 of them. So Puffu, they are saying, has this movement speed that he reduces. But for example, Angelux have a stun, for example, and fall, and Helix have this bind effect. But Puffu is just reduce the movement speed. Sometimes in Lava Valley it could be very useful, because sometimes players, some engineers of rock just running from you. So in this context can be good. So they're showing a good partner for Puffu. That's the Sage Raindeer. So he's a support type, like I showed before. But because of his passive, he gives some frostbite effects on the enemies. This familiar can increase your critical chance and special skill damage. So that's good. So he can be very good partner for additional damage. So this is a little controversial, because when they wrote this, they didn't have a strong earth type familiar in the arena. So Puffu can be a good counter to Kona actually, but after they launched this familiar here, Cactus, that I could say is a good counter. So he gives poison and also he makes fall, and your enemy cannot use HP potions and the roll. Can you believe it? I think it's the only familiar that in active skill do that. So it's very peculiar familiar that come just after Puffu actually, that they call Cactus or Sabou, I don't know how they translate. So that's this article. I put everything on the links for you guys to check with details. So this is the PvP tier list. It was written around that time when they launched him. So let's see what was the first impression. So they say they use in Lava Valley and the Sky Island. That's not available on global yet, so you guys can see. So in S tier they put Puffu, Helix, Arachnes and Angelux. So I think Puffu is here because of his passive. That's the same as this one, and Kona also. So they put Arachnes because he's like a PvP specialized familiar. I think they put him because of his, you can decrease the movement speed, so this can be useful in certain situations. But I still think you need not only a attack team, but also a water, and later I explain more details about it. So here defensive, support type. So this is just a reference to know what was the first impressions they have on him during that time. So here is the Familiar Arena tier list during the same time, around the same time. During that time they put him on S tier because these four they are very strong on that. But I still think Hippocampus could be here in a good position also. So they say Kona, Angelux, use it in that. So I remember that time I was playing also. He appears a lot actually. Because his skills are very similar to Kona. And he can be a good counter to Kona actually. So he performs a ranged attack every third basic attack. So in Frostbite nearby enemies when taking fall damage. So fall is quite, they use a lot. Many familiars use this fall effect. So they show defensive and support type. You see Toko is here. I think I would put Sunshine more here. So let's see now. It's like this is from April, right? So let's see now on August. So here's the Familiar Arena on Korean server. So let's see the rank. To be sincere, I think because of this new familiar Cactus, that's kind of counter for Puffu. Not many people, you see Cactus much more use it. And Puffu is not on the list. I think I just found one person using him actually. In the Familiar Arena. But of course, I think now, right now, on global, he will be very good. Because he's a strong counter for Kona. So that's one I found. Mina, she's the top 42. So here's her Puffu. Max, everything max. Awaken 7. So you see, I think they normally put 7. Minimum, because you can get this 3%. 7. You need 7 to have 3% of more damage. But of course, for Familiar Arena, I cannot guess which Familiar is the other two. But that's the combination here. And I think just this one, guys. Let me see if I find others. Sometimes they hide, so we never know exactly, right? But I think because Cactus got so popular, so people are using less. But I remember seeing a lot Puffu during that time. Wow, this is very free to play. These 3 we get for free. Can you guys believe it? Sometimes you can make nice things. Yes, only one person using. So here is like I found a Puffu test with other familiars. And he performs very good actually. The guy did a damage test with him. He puts his level 136 and he's not using buff anything, so he used the same for every familiar. So he made this combination here. You have to consider also that his Puffu is not maximum, it's like 244 OP grades and he's Awaken 7. And the best combination is a full water thing attackers. Not this one, this is just a support, but he gives this frozen. So that's why it's good to have them together. So you see this full attack. So Puffu performs better than Suryo in the PvE context. And here full attack, I don't think it's a very good, it's a good combination. But I think this one is much more better synergy actually. With Hippocampus, with this one. So just so you guys have an idea. They made a damage test the maximum was 54 millions of damage. So just so you guys have a reference, that's, of course, the difference is not that much if you see like, but if you wanna maximize damage, this is a good combination. So I think for global situation now, since we don't have the Sage, I think Suryo will be a good familiar here. Suryo, Hippocampus, and Puffu would be a good combination because this one have Frozen also, so it can be a good combination. Oh, a water build, of course. So this is a, how can I say, they make a top 30 of house servers. This is from June. But one thing, they always analyze some builds. They choose like, and they choose this one. I think he was the top 12 of Swordsman. He have 5 millions of CP. And he have this water type of build that I found very peculiar and very nice to share with you guys. So that's the 3 familiars he's using. Puffu, the Sage, and Hippocampus. And he uses the Kronos, the water type here. And this is not Milky Way, because we don't have it. But I think on global would be Milky Way for sure, if it was possible for him to use. So this is basically a whale build. So this just say, he was on house Swordsman, he was in 60th place. And he's the first ranked on his server. They say that's very rare type of Swordsman because he's using water attribute deck as his main deck. So accessory, he uses a combination that increase your frost damage. So this is linked to the familiar. So he's everything around frost damage. Using Puffu also. And the Sea Dragon is the Hippocampus. And the silence effect. So they are saying that in order to maximize Puffu passive, how 3 of them should be offensive type. But as you can see, he's not offensive, right? But they use Sage because of the frostbite effect. So that's a water type Swordsman. Normally it's fire one, or they use wood type. So this is very peculiar. His orbs also is water type. So it's just an example of a build. Later I put also for you guys. Here is showing his equipment with details. Even like accessories, everything. So if you guys wanna check later with a translator, for example, this is evasion, critical damage. So you guys can have an idea later. So above I think my final thought about Puffu is that I feel like he will be very good until they don't have other strong familiars like Cactus. And considering that Cactus, if they follow the calendar, Cactus he came like in May doing the fishing competition event. So I feel like if until May of next year, he can be very useful on the arena. But I think on long term, if you think you're using him on arena, don't think it's better good choice. I would wait for Helix and Angelux, for example. But if you wanna make a build with Frost, he can be very good. And if you're a whale, of course, you need him. Because as you guys can see, he's kind of flexible in some degree to like Kona. So you can put him even mix familiars builds, so he can fit very well. And of course, if you wanna score very well in the Witch Dungeon, he's a very good choice. So as you guys can see, they have one for each element actually. And these two are, if they follow the calendar, this coming very soon. During the Halloween events. Only if they change. But if they follow, Halloween you cannot postpone it, right? But not if you surprise me if they postpone everything or change. And this one is coming, the best partner for Puffu is coming like in December. This is during the Christmas event. So just so you guys have an idea. So having him, you can have a very good performance. So for example, just as a reference, this is the strongest guy in my server now. So you see the combination of familiars that he uses. Attack type and Cactus is here. So Cactus is kind of the counter for Puffu. So you see the combination he uses. Of course, depends on the equipment he's using. But you guys can have a reference here. My bet he's using a fire type. Yes, fire one. And maybe Kona is his main. So let's check the second one. And nobody. I think this is a very classic combination. Ah, here, found it. You see, Puffu here. So this is a very classic, like that other guy combination, water build. So this is the one this guy is using. Oh, so this one is using with he as his main destroyer. He's in a water build. And you see Kronos. They use the demons. Critical rate. We don't have a Milky Way here. So that's the combination of familiars they have. So depends a lot. I think the thing in this game that is only if you invest a lot to try to get half familiars, max. But in general, I don't think it's a good idea. Only if you have a lot of money. So as you can see, the top 10 players, they use the Cactus. Cactus, even Kona, they use a lot. You see Kona in the fire build. So just so you guys have a reference. You see this combination is very common. I think people don't use a lot of him because there's no gemstones for. So they use a lot with this absolute zero ring. So damage dealt to frostbite enemy. So you see people prefer even to use more Kona, Angelux and Helix as a combination. But you look here, for example, we don't have the gemstone yet of a water type. So they prefer to use earth and fire because of this. You can have more damage because of this. Oh, that build I show you guys. It's very common. Swordsman use a lot actually. Now I realize that. Tidal braid. I would use the ring that gives more frozen attack. But that's very common build in the water type. Maybe an end game one. So you see this is the main build. Apparently, water type. And she prefers to use Cactus. But sometimes people just invest more, right? Using this ring here, Absolute Zero is very good. Frostbiting. And they have this earring. This is a new one for the new field boss. It's not even translated yet. So increase your critical chance by 5% on enemies that are affected by frost effects. So imagine this with the Puffu. You guys can see some possible builds, right? The problem that this came like this field boss. I show you guys for last. It came like in May. This one, the goddess, blue goddess statue. So these earrings here. So it drops from that field boss. This one also drops from that field boss, but the effect is different. But the effect is not related to frost. So these earrings here is a good choice. But I'm not sure if you come soon or next year, so don't count with that. Necklace that can be very good could be this one. It drops from the frozen laboratory. and he increased your water attack 7.5%. Can be good in a water build. So I think that's it. That's our friend. I think this video could give you guys idea how this Puffu works. And there's some possible builds and things that will come in the future. So I feel like they don't use him a lot in general. Only very specific water build. So if you wanna follow doing that kind of build, it's a good choice. In general, they prefer to use like Helix, Angelux, and even Cactus. I hope this video was useful. If you guys have some questions, just leave a comment down below. And for now, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and see you on the next video.